So this is our presentation on the Emeraude CP301. And we sort of decided on paint schemes. We discussed whether it should be stripes or whether it should be curvy swoopies. And we kind of settled on something a little bit like this. And I do paint better than I Photoshop. This isn't even Photoshop actually, but it's going to look even better than this, if you can imagine. So last summer, Harvey McKinnon discovered an Emeraude project for sale in Saskatchewan. He flew out along with Tom Stoika to have a look. And to make that long story short, they decided to go ahead with that. It looked like it was in good shape. He decided to purchase the entire project. And with local promotion by word of mouth and Facebook, we found 5 investors to share the costs and share the workload. So that's been going really, really well. And we have been able to actually keep our costs down substantially with a few innovations. So once it's completed, our EAA chapter will be divested of the project. EAA chapters are not allowed to own aircraft. So the current 5 investors will become co-owners in the form of an equity flying club. And then we'll pay one another X amount per hour to fly the plane. And we'll figure out our schedules, who wants to fly it which weekend. And we'll have a wonderful airplane to fly. So our airframe arrived completed. So the airframe includes fuselage, wings, all the empennage, like everything is complete. The entire airframe is done. It's all wood, it's all covered in fabric. And landing gear is conventional. Now, Tom, you told me you got this plane from Saskatchewan, so if you think that landing gear looks a bit funny, but we'll work on that.
Well, that's typical Saskatchewan fare. That's how they build their landing gear for aircraft, apparently.
That's what I thought. Okay. We'll put a Manitoba touch to it. And it's always nice when you have an engine ready to go. This project not only came with complete airframe, it was a Lycoming 0235 was also included, along with the propeller, along with the instruments. It's just ready, almost ready to go, just some assembly required. And when I say complete, this is our parts bin. Somebody cleaned out the hangar and we filled a bunch of shelves with everything that was included. What you see here is just part of the project. There's also a canopy, cowling, a lot of stuff that did not fit in this picture. Well, to build an airplane, you pretty much need plans. It's a plans-built aircraft. There's no kit for the Emeraude. So we were looking for plans, and locally we chased down a bunch of leads unsuccessfully for several weeks. So I subsequently decided we'll just order plans fresh. And none are available in North America. So I managed to track down an aviation museum in France, Espace Air Passion, and I have contact information for them because I know how excited all of you are going to be to want to build your own Emeraude now. So you can contact them and get your plans. It says over 800 pages are included. I did some counting. Yes, you get a disc with the plans. They ship you a disc, and they shipped it very, very quickly. I had it within a week. You get a disc, and then you're left to sort out which of those plans you think you're going to need. There are over 800 pages. If you're not familiar with the Emeraude, the cabin is about an inch wider than a Cessna 150. The team had to make some decisions whether to keep the instruments that came with the project or buy new ones. And we have decided to purchase a few new things. We did purchase an EFIS. One of the advantages of building your own plane is you don't need to use certified instrumentation. You can use non-certified instrumentation at about half the price or less. And here's our team at work. So everything was covered. The airframe was covered with seconite and doped. The silver color comes from aluminum powder added to the doping process to help reflect UV rays. And everyone agreed on the paint job, then we got to work. So our budget would not allow for an expensive paint job. So we are using exterior acrylic latex paint. And this is the primer coat being applied. And here's our process. The highest tech painting process. It's an exterior acrylic latex, which of course is UV blocking because it's exterior paint. And we're following a method laid out by Malcolm Morrison, Drew Fido, many others. And the process essentially is to apply the paint with a roller. We've done some sanding between coats. And if you look closely, I don't know if it shows on this photo, but the paint rollers do leave a very fine pebbled texture. Best way to describe it. And we wet sand this out to prepare for polishing. Once that is sanded down to 600 and 1200 grit and polished, it looks as shiny as you can imagine. So here's the elevator. We did the elevator as a test piece. After 5 or 6 coats, we wet sanded it. I took this to 2000 grit, although we discovered there's really no difference between 2000 and 1200. It was just an extra step we didn't need. And you can see how reflective, how shiny that is. Don't focus on the shiny patches of light. If you look at the top of the picture, you can actually see reflections of the fuselage reflected in the finish. This project, like most home builds, had some customization added to it. These were retractable landing lights. And we thought this was added complexity. We thought that to have this kind of mechanism under the floor, it's a pretty heavy system. So we decided to just remove it and replace it with a simpler fixed landing light setup. And there they were, gone. That took about an hour. So now we have 2 holes where the landing lights used to be. I've since produced panels to cover those, and the panels use the same nuts that are fixed in place, so we can just screw directly onto it. One of the nice things about the Emeraude is all of the parts are counterbalanced. So this is a counterbalance on the aileron. The elevator is counterbalanced, ailerons are counterbalanced, and of course that all helps prevent flutter. We don't know if this was fabricated or purchased. If it was handmade, he did a beautiful job of it. So this is the sort of craftsmanship that went into making this aircraft, and it's evident throughout the plane. The craftsmanship is really, really nice. This is our fuel tank. So we have all the parts to complete the aircraft, but we had no documentation. We didn't have inspection reports, we didn't have plans that came with it. There was no builder's notes, and consequently, we decided that everything we had really needed to be tested, verified. We needed to make sure that the fuel tanks, for example, there are 2 fuel tanks, but we didn't know if they leaked or not. And we've since established that there is a small leak on the aft fuel tank. So these are the things you want to figure out before you install everything.
Sorry to interrupt here for a minute, James. I can hear a lot of chatter in the background, some background noise. If I can ask everybody to mute their mics if you're not talking, and it'll make the presentation much easier to listen to. Thank you.
No, thanks, Tom. So our team has been working like mad. Rick Unruh, is going to give you a little update later on, shortly here. He's been using his vast experience polishing British racing cars, British sports cars, to polish our aircraft. And this is what the fuselage looks like now. Here's the side view of the fuselage, the other direction. And the process we're using, acrylic latex paint, looks almost as good as the YouTube videos. We power polished it with auto polish, or marine polish would work. You can see the wing in the background. So it doesn't take extensive skill to do this. Our entire paint job has come in at a cost of approximately $400. So much less expensive than an automotive style paint. And a bit of a swoosh on the rudder. You can see that right here. What's next? So we would like to get this aircraft flying this year, 2021. Last week, on January 15th, was the 100th anniversary, or would have been the 100th anniversary of the birth of Claude Piel, the designer of this and dozens of other aircraft. So to get things going for this year, we've decided to put in a bit of a timeline. And here's our timeline so far. It'll probably get modified as we go along or as we make other decisions. But we've got up till September. I'm pretty confident we can do that. We actually have a team of 5 with considerable experience. So as it turns out, but there are a lot of steps involved. As with building any aircraft, as with completing any aircraft, there are a lot of little steps that have to be completed. And so we've color coded each task. It's been a real tremendous opportunity to learn about home building an aircraft. We still have many problems to solve, a few mysteries to unravel. One of the mysteries was the moisture content of the wood. And Rick Unruh, are you able to unmute and tell us what you found out today about the moisture content?
Yeah, sure. I met Andy Bailey at the hangar today at, well, this afternoon around 3 o'clock, and he came in with a tool that has a couple of prongs that penetrate into the wood a little bit, and did moisture testing on the main spar in 6 or 8 locations. He marked each of the spots for us, and inside the fuselage on some of the support structure in there, and everything came back at roughly 8% moisture content. Each of them were basically the same. And I had done a little reading, and others have too, and 8% is within the range of what we've been considering good to go with. So that's good news. There was some challenge with the testing meter. Apparently, Andy was saying it had been left in the car too long and it was too cold. So that affected how it worked for him at first, but he was able to get it working out and come up with a reading he thought was good. So that was the afternoon today.
Oh, thanks, Rick. Yeah, and of course, we had some discussions as to what we would do if that were not the case. With wood aircraft, it's very important to have the moisture content within a specific range. If the wood absorbs too much moisture, around anything over 12%, say 15 or 18%, well, that's enough moisture to promote fungal growth and rot, and it reduces the strength and the longevity, and it adds to the weight of the aircraft as well. So at 8%, we're kind of at the bottom of the low range, which is, I would consider ideal. And that gives us great confidence to go ahead and work on the rest of the aircraft. I mentioned Claude Piel. His family is still actively marketing plans for many of his designs. In Canada, you can get plans for the Super Emeraude. This is an upgraded version of what we have. And many other Claude PL plans. You can contact Sylvia Littner in Montreal. She's the official North American supplier for about a half a dozen Claude PL designs here in North America. Some are single seat, some are tandem seat, some are fully aerobatic, some are race planes. And the plans we got for the 301 were only available from France, Espace Air Passion, Angers Airport. There's the website. If you're interested, I can certainly let you know how to contact them. The hand painting system that we're using, we found on wienerdogaero.com, where he has extensive detail on the use of latex, or actually acrylic latex paint. That's it, folks. Any questions?